Hello, Hare Krishna. Today I wanted to show you some of the first steps of cutting out fabric to make deity outfits. So there's a couple of different options that I have here to show you. The first thing that you need to determine is how long you want the skirt to be and how full you want the skirt to be. Today we're only talking about skirts. I'm making outfits for Jagannath, but skirts also would work for Radharani, the shorter skirts for Krishna, Gaura-Nitai. Gopal mostly wears skirts. His will be a little different, and I'll point that out. It's a little different when it comes to the sewing. So I have a couple of examples here. I'm just going to move this up a little bit so that you can see better with the other camera. So this is going to be an underskirt for our small Jagannath here at home. So I wanted the length to finish basically at their feet. Basically, I want it to go from their waist to just touching the altar. Whereas the other skirt that I'm actually using for outfits, I want to be longer so that it lays nicely. So I hope you can see this okay here. Actually, let me show you on this one first because I think that might be easier. So the first thing to do is to get the seams ready. Now, because for Jagannath, you just put the skirt around him and then tie it in back. So we're going to sew up each side. And the way I do that is fold it over, iron it, flat, fold it over, iron it again. Now a tip here is the straighter you can get it to actually meet the edge of the fabric, the easier it's going to be. Otherwise, you'll have to do extra sewing so that the fabric doesn't fray. So as you can see, this side's already sewn. This side, there was a problem, so we're redoing that one. And the bottom of this is fine as it is. I'll probably just add some trim or something there. Now on this one, because it does not have the edge of the fabric on it, so we did the same thing of folding in each side and sewing it. And then we also folded up the bottom and are going to sew that as well. Twice. Ironing. I like to iron with each fold to try and get it as straight as possible. So that is the piece for our little Jagannath's underskirts and the piece for the big Jagannath at the school. The next thing that you need to have is you need waistbands. So because the Jagannath here are quite small, I wanted really little waistbands. In a perfect world, they would be even smaller than this, but I'm not quite that skilled. So, and it's basically the same thing. You cut out a rectangle. You want to make it a little bit longer than the measurement around their waist, because you are going to, again, fold in both sides and iron at each step. So you see, so that there's no fraying there. And then you kind of fold it in the middle and iron it, and then fold each piece in and iron that so that the finished product is like that. I'll show you on a bigger one here, which might be a little easier. Oh, this wasn't folded in twice. That can still work because it's going to be completely sealed. The reason for the hems and the seams and everything is so that there's no exposed fabric, which will start fraying. And these will be used So once this is all sewn up, the next thing that you'll do is gather the skirts. If you have a sewing machine, it's super easy to do it. You start at one end and you do it quite close to the top, you know, maybe about that much in. And you tie it on one end, you know, tie where you go back and forth. And then at the other end, you leave it untied. And you do is a big stitch on these. And you do another row just shortly below it. Same thing, tie on this end and leave open on this end. And then, and I'll actually try and show you this as well. And then you pull two of the strings, like the two top strings or the two bottom strings. Sometimes one side works better than the other. And you pull it, which will then gather the skirt, and it'll gather it nicely by having two rows. And then once it's all gathered, it will gather nicer than this. Then you put it in the waistband, making sure it's as even and straight as possible. You fold it over, and then now for the waistbands, I do usually have to pin it. So you just take the pins, and I do them this way so that as you're sewing, to sew that waistband on, as you're running it through the machine, you can just pull each pin out before you get to it. All right, so that is the first step to get your skirts cut out. Now, a slight difference if you're making for Gopal, because his skirts they can be open, but they're often closed. So if you were making for someone where you didn't have to reach around and tie the outfit, instead of folding these ends in twice and sewing them together, you would put the right sides together, and you would just sew up a seam. Then you would iron that open to flatten it back down. And then you can go over each side with a zigzag stitch so that it doesn't fray. All right, I hope that's helpful and a good start. If you have any questions, or more importantly, if you have any corrections, anything I didn't quite say clearly enough or just said wrong, please let me know in the comments. And I look forward to showing you the next step soon. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.